Hello, hello, yes it is I, the conspicuous Moo. And, I had a revelation this week, and I wanted to share it with you because I'm just very, very generous like that, I suppose. This is how I turned into a Mistweaver. Once upon a time, well, wasn't that long ago actually, it was last Wednesday. In the last video I was talking to you about, how excited I was. I'd gone to a lot of trouble and ground out all my ToD stuff and got my head of the Invoker, and I was ready to win walk and I'm going to smash it out, absolutely. So we're hanging out there outside of Castle Nathria about 5 minutes before the raid starts, and then all of a sudden an announcement comes through that two of the people who've signed up have decided that they're not going to come after all. Now, I wouldn't say I'm fantastically easygoing, but it does take an effort to annoy me, and that really did annoy me, because that meant that, of course, we were now down a healer, and I had little choice but to, change into my Mistweaver gear and abandon all the work and all the preparation I put into doing windwalking that time. So, it was a fabulous run. We did very well in the raid, and my numbers are pretty good, and I rather enjoyed myself. So we're having a discussion about this sort of attendance problem afterwards, and my thinking was along the lines that we need to eliminate this healer unreliability problem, and we already have a very good resto druid, so shaman. So I thought, well, you need the throughput version as well, and at that point we had a holy priest who was one of the unreliable ones, but Mistweavers are quite good at throughput as well. It's one of their strengths. They can really burst it out when they feel like it, especially on single target. So I sort of came around to the realization that this would actually be quite a good fit, and that we would then have a solid healing team, which is important. You need your established tank, you need your established heals, and you can have other people as backups. But if you don't have a core set, it gets very, very frustrating very quickly. So I thought that I might step into the breach. And another reason that I wanted to try Mistweaver as a main spec, so to speak, is because I was running into that problem where people wouldn't show up for raid on time, and I would turn into a Mistweaver, or I'd turn into a Windwalker, or whatever the raid needed. And I'd rather be more fixed and focus on one spec where I can learn the mechanics and get better at it. And Mistweaver is probably the least explored of the specs that I've actually played. I've dabbled with it. I did a bit of healing in Antorus, but I haven't really gotten to grips with it until Nathria, where my results have been pretty good. My overheals have been shocking as well, but that's all part of the learning experience as a healer, right? So I think generally speaking, Mistweavers are fairly underrated. I think they're underappreciated for what they do and what they're capable of. There've certainly been situations when I've been healing in Nathria where I feel that if I wasn't there, that would have been a catastrophe. Things like you forget to interrupt Frida and everyone gets the debuff, and I can just revival it off. Just don't do it too often, because then that has a cooldown. Stuff like that a Mistweaver uniquely can bring, where they can just cleanse all of that off. Particularly good as well on the rat boss just after Huntsman as well. And I was also surprised by just running around in the field about how much more damage Mistweaver actually did. I think when I was messing around in Legion with Mistweaver, it did strike me how slow the whole experience was. But it still had the same basic damage mechanics. You sort of teachings of the monastery, and then you do your blackout kick, and then you try and reset rising sun kick. But it just seems like it's a lot punchier this time. And I've added chi burst to my talent build as well, so that's definitely helping too. Another thing that really attracts me to the whole Mistweaver thing is that you essentially have two specs in one here. You have two healing styles. You've got the Mistweaving where you're standing, I wouldn't say in ranged for a lot of the time. You still have to be fairly close, especially if you pick Refreshing Jade Wind. But you know, you do have the ability to stand back and heal, and you also have the ability to actually get in there and do some damage yourself. And you know, the damage isn't great. I mean, I think my last pass was, you know, somewhere between 1 to 1.2k damage, but you know, that's not terrible either. I mean, it's not paladin levels of damage, but it's still decent, and you're doing healing while you're actually doing that. So I really like to try the fist weaving thing out. I think it's more viable in raids than it would be in Mythic Plus. But you know, I'd like to try everything out. All of a sudden, you know, if I'm going to get into Mistweaver, I'm going to need to do all the reading and get all the research done and find the best combinations, and maybe even embrace haste again, which is something that I've been allergic to for so many years now. So, you know, I'll go to my normal sources of information. I mean, there is a different simming site for healers called QE Live that I will link in the description as well. So that's the one that you usually use if you've got some gear issues, you're trying to work out which is best for your healing spec. Then of course you've got the normal monk areas like Peak of Serenity, of course, can't go past that. It's a brilliant place to be. And then you've got WoW Head, Icy Veins, WoW Analyzer, of course, for telling you how terrible you are. Afterwards, you just have to try not to take it too personally. I remember I pointed WoW Analyzer out in our Discord, in our guild Discord, and everyone sort of had a look after raid, and they all got fairly demoralised because it was saying, you haven't done that, and you haven't done that, and that was terrible, and you do more of this. And I was saying, look guys, just, you know, treat it like, you know, the crazy uncle who doesn't really have a social switch. He's just going to tell you like it is, and isn't really interested in your feelings. Don't take it personally, just, you know, use it as a tool to improve. Just don't get demoralised and say, I'm not signing up to raid anymore because WoW Analyzer told me I suck. And Warcraft logs. You know, I think I need some sort of alarm reminder for myself, because I always forget to turn the combat log on. But thankfully other guildies don't, and so we can all have a good look at how we did and how we passed. But yeah, you know, I just wanted to share with you sort of like my changing aspect. You know, I've started this channel out very brewmastery, and we've had a bit of windwalkery in there now, and now we're going mistweavy. But you know, I'm not going to abandon the other two specs. You know, I still very much enjoy playing both of them. It's just from a raid perspective, I'm fairly much going to be locked into that healing now, so you might get a little bit more Mistweavery coming out. And so, yes, that's it. There are a couple of other things I'd just like to shoot past you that I've picked up during the course of the week. A lot of people have been noticing that their Invoke Nizzy as a Brewmaster is not doing the stomp damage. Please check your pet bar and make sure that it is autocast to stomp. Sometimes it's just not stomping at all, and that is a serious damage loss, because that's where the majority of Nizzy's damage comes from. I think you can also macro it in as well to other abilities if you want to have some kind of control over it, but it's usually pretty good as long as you time using it, which is generally at least 6 seconds after you start tanking, because it's going to be working off your stagger and the last 6 seconds of stagger per stomp. So if you hit it right at the start, when you have no stagger, that stomp is going to be nothing. So yes, generally 6 seconds, 10 up to 10, maybe longer, depending on how many hits you're taking. Basically the idea is to get as much stagger as possible, purify as much as possible, get the biggest possible stomps. That's how you get the damage through the Walk with the Ox conduit. So yeah, just check that he's stomping, because if he isn't stomping, it's going to be a major DPS loss for you. And last week I mentioned that we had a change to Touch of Death, which means it was going to reset after every boss goes down. What I should clarify is that is raid only, it's not Mythic Plus, unfortunately. So it's that cooldown is only going to reset on raid kills, not Mythic Plus, sorry. But hopefully we've got better Mythic Plus news coming down the track. Anyway, for now I think that's everything. I'll keep you posted on things. Remember, if you are in a raid group and you do sign up on Discord, do show up to your raid, or at least let them know more than 5 minutes before you go in, because that's going to annoy your officers substantially. And yes, I will see you in the next one very soon, but until then, I am the Conspicuous Moo, and a very good Mistweavery to you.